Dr. Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he examined the medical readings on his portable scanner. The alien vessel that had intercepted his research ship 3 days ago was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The beings called themselves the Zephyrians, and they were magnificent in their own terrifying way. Standing nearly 9 feet tall with crystalline blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light, the Zephyrians possessed 4 arms and eyes that glowed like distant stars. Their leader, who had introduced himself as King Vorthak, ruled over a vast empire that spanned 17 star systems. Marcus had learned this much during his brief but intense interrogation after his capture. The human doctor had been conducting routine medical research on a remote planet when the massive Zephyrian dreadnought had appeared in orbit. His small team had been taken without resistance, though Marcus noticed the aliens had been surprisingly gentle during the capture process. Most of his colleagues were being held in comfortable quarters elsewhere on the ship, but Marcus had been brought directly to the royal chambers. King Vorthak paced back and forth across the vast throne room, his 4 massive hands clenched into fists. The alien monarch's usual composure had cracked, revealing something Marcus had never expected to see from such a powerful being: desperation and fear. The king's daughter, Princess Lirelei, lay motionless on an ornate medical platform in the center of the room. Marcus approached the platform carefully, his medical instincts overriding his fear. The princess was beautiful even in her unconscious state, her crystalline skin somewhat dimmer than her father's, suggesting illness. She appeared to be roughly equivalent to a human in her early 20s, though Marcus knew alien biology made such comparisons meaningless. "Your healers have failed," King Vorthak spoke, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority mixed with parental anguish. "They tell me she will not survive another rotation of our homeworld. 3 of our most skilled medical practitioners have declared her condition beyond their abilities." Marcus studied the readings from his scanner as it analyzed the princess's vital signs. The device, designed to work with various alien physiologies, was detecting massive organ failure throughout her system. What puzzled him was that the failure seemed to be happening simultaneously across multiple systems, as if her body was rejecting itself. "What caused this condition?" Marcus asked, surprised by his own boldness in questioning the alien king directly. King Vorthak's glowing eyes fixed on the human doctor. "She was exploring a dead world in the Kepler system when she encountered what your people would call radiation poisoning. However, this was no ordinary radiation. The planet had been the site of an ancient war, and the weapons used there left behind energies that corrupt living tissue at the molecular level." Marcus nodded grimly. He had read theoretical papers about such exotic radiation types, though humanity had never encountered them directly. The Zephyrian medical technology, while advanced in many ways, seemed to lack the specific knowledge needed to counter this particular type of contamination. "Why bring me here?" Marcus asked. "Surely your medical technology is far superior to anything humans possess." The king's expression shifted, showing what Marcus interpreted as a mixture of hope and skepticism. "Our intelligence networks have been monitoring your species for some time. While your technology is primitive compared to ours, your medical approach is different. Where we focus on energy manipulation and cellular reconstruction, you humans seem to excel at understanding biological processes at their most fundamental level." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The implications of the king's words suggested that humanity had been under alien observation for far longer than anyone suspected. However, he pushed those concerns aside as he focused on the medical challenge before him. "I need to understand more about her biology," Marcus said, holding up his scanner. "This device can analyze her condition, but I need baseline data about normal Zephyrian physiology to develop any kind of treatment plan." King Vorthak gestured to one of his advisors, a slightly smaller Zephyrian with intricate markings covering his arms. "Healer Nexus will provide you with whatever information you require. Be aware, human, that my daughter's life hangs by the thinnest of threads. Time is not our ally." As Marcus began his examination, he couldn't help but marvel at the princess's physiology. Her respiratory system operated on a completely different principle than human lungs, processing atmospheric gases through specialized crystalline structures throughout her torso. Her circulatory system used a fluid that seemed to glow with its own internal light, and her nervous system was far more complex than anything found in terrestrial biology. The radiation damage was extensive, and unlike anything Marcus had encountered in his medical training. The exotic energy had essentially caused her cellular structure to begin breaking down at the quantum level. Her body's natural healing processes were fighting the contamination, but they were losing ground rapidly. The radiation is still active in her system, Marcus announced after completing his initial analysis. It's continuing to cause damage even as her body tries to repair itself. Any treatment will need to neutralize the exotic energy first, then address the cellular damage. Healer Nexus stepped forward, his forearms moving in what Marcus assumed was a gesture of skepticism. We have tried 17 different energy neutralization techniques. Nothing has proven effective against this particular contamination. Marcus studied the data more carefully, his mind racing through everything he knew about radiation treatment and cellular biology. An idea began to form, though it seemed almost too simple given the advanced nature of Zephyrian medicine. Your people think in terms of energy and technology, Marcus said slowly. But sometimes the simplest biological solutions are the most effective. I think I might have an approach that could work, but it would require materials from my ship and some modifications to your medical equipment. King Vorthak's eyes blazed brighter with renewed hope. Whatever you require will be provided. If you can save my daughter's life, human, you will have earned the eternal gratitude of the Zephyrian Empire. Marcus looked down at the dying princess, knowing that the next few hours would determine not only her fate, but possibly the future relationship between humanity and one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The weight of that responsibility settled on his shoulders as he began to formulate his treatment plan. The alien technology around him hummed with power, but Marcus knew that his greatest tool would be the one thing that had served humanity well throughout history: the ability to think creatively when faced with impossible odds. Marcus spent the next 4 hours studying every piece of data the Zephyrians had collected about the princess's condition. Their medical records were incredibly detailed, showing cellular analysis down to the subatomic level. However, what struck Marcus was how their approach focused entirely on technological solutions rather than biological ones. The Zephyrian healers had attempted to use energy fields to neutralize the radiation, applied nanotechnology to repair damaged cells, and even tried quantum manipulation techniques that Marcus barely understood. All of these approaches had failed because they treated the symptoms rather than addressing the fundamental problem. The radiation isn't just damaging her cells, Marcus explained to King Vorthak and the assembled medical team. It's creating a cascade effect where her body's own immune system is attacking healthy tissue. The exotic energy is making her immune system think that her own cells are foreign invaders. Healer Nexus translated this concept to the other Zephyrian medical staff, their conversation consisting of melodic tones that reminded Marcus of whale songs. After several minutes of discussion, Nexus turned back to the human doctor. This cascade effect you describe matches some of our observations, Nexus admitted. However, our attempts to suppress her immune system only accelerated the radiation damage. It appears we face an impossible situation, Marcus smiled grimly. Not impossible, just requiring a different approach. On Earth, we've dealt with similar immune system confusion in cases of severe autoimmune disorders. The key isn't to suppress the immune system or fight the radiation directly. Instead, we need to give the immune system new information so it can distinguish between healthy cells and contaminated ones. The human doctor moved to his portable medical kit, which the Zephyrians had returned to him at his request. From it, he extracted several vials of what appeared to be simple biological compounds. King Vorthak watched with intense interest as Marcus began explaining his treatment plan. These are modified antibodies from Earth, Marcus said, holding up one of the vials. I've adapted them using a technique we call molecular mimicry. Essentially, I'm going to teach your daughter's immune system to recognize the radiation, contamination as a specific threat while leaving healthy tissue alone. The process Marcus described was elegant in its simplicity. Rather than fighting the exotic radiation directly, he would introduce modified biological markers that would attach to contaminated cells. The princess's immune system would then target only those marked cells for destruction, while healthy tissue would be ignored. But these are alien compounds, protested another Zephyrian healer. How can substances from your world possibly be compatible with our biology? Marcus had anticipated this question. Life throughout the galaxy appears to share certain fundamental principles. Your blood chemistry, while different in specifics, operates on many of the same basic mechanisms as human blood. These antibodies won't replace your daughter's immune system, they'll simply provide it with better information. The preparation process took another 6 hours. Marcus worked alongside Nexus and 2 other Zephyrian healers, carefully modifying the alien medical equipment to accommodate his treatment approach. The Zephyrians were fascinated by the biological focus of human medicine, just as Marcus was amazed by their energy-based healing techniques. "Your people's medicine is quite advanced," Marcus commented, as he watched Nexus manipulate cellular structures using focused energy beams. "But you seem to have developed along completely different lines than human medicine." Nexus paused in his work, considering the observation. "Our evolution favored energy manipulation and technological solutions. We learned to rebuild damaged tissue using external energy sources, rather than relying on biological processes. Your approach of working with natural biological systems is foreign to us." As they worked, Marcus learned more about Zephyrian society and their relationship with Princess Lyrelei. She was not only the king's daughter but also the primary heir to the throne, and a brilliant explorer in her own right. Her expedition to the contaminated world had been part of a scientific survey mission, making her infection all the more tragic. She insisted on personally examining the ancient battle sites, King Vorthak explained, his voice heavy with regret. Despite our warnings about the dangers, she believed that understanding the weapons used in that ancient war could help us defend against similar threats in the future. Marcus could hear the pride mixed with anguish in the alien king's voice. Princess Lyrelei clearly shared her father's sense of duty to their people, even at great personal risk. This made Marcus even more determined to save her life. When the treatment preparations were finally complete, Marcus stood before the medical platform where the princess lay unconscious. Her crystalline skin had grown noticeably dimmer over the past several hours, and her vital signs showed continued deterioration. "The treatment will take approximately 12 hours to show initial results," Marcus explained to the assembled group. "The modified antibodies need time to circulate through her system and mark the contaminated cells. During this time, her condition may appear to worsen as her immune system begins attacking the marked tissue more aggressively." King Vorthak's expression showed his internal struggle between hope and fear. "And if your treatment fails?" Marcus met the alien king's glowing gaze directly. "Then we'll have learned something valuable about treating exotic radiation poisoning, and we'll try a different approach. But I believe this will work. Human medicine may be primitive by your standards, but we've learned to work with biological systems rather than against them." The injection process was surprisingly complex, requiring precise timing and coordination between Marcus's biological compounds and the Zephyrian medical equipment. As the modified antibodies entered Princess Lyrelei's system, monitors throughout the room began displaying data that showed immediate cellular activity. "Her immune response is increasing," reported one of the Zephyrian technicians. "Cellular destruction in affected areas is accelerating." Marcus nodded, having expected this reaction. "That's exactly what should happen. Her immune system is now properly identifying and attacking the contaminated tissue. Within a few hours, we should see the radiation levels beginning to decrease as the contaminated cells are eliminated." As they waited for the treatment to take effect, Marcus found himself engaged in lengthy discussions with King Vorthak about human civilization and medical philosophy. The alien ruler was particularly interested in humanity's approach to problem-solving and adaptation. "Your species seems to excel at finding unconventional solutions," the king observed. "This biological approach to treating radiation contamination would never have occurred to our medical staff." Marcus shrugged modestly. "We've had to be creative throughout our evolution. Humans didn't develop advanced technology as quickly as some species, so we learned to work with what nature provided. Sometimes the old ways are still the best ways." As the night progressed, the first signs of improvement began to appear on the monitoring equipment. The breakthrough came during the early hours of the morning cycle aboard the Zephyrian vessel. Marcus had been monitoring the princess's vital signs continuously when he noticed the first positive change in her condition. The exotic radiation levels in her bloodstream had dropped by 15%, and her immune system was no longer attacking healthy tissue. "Look at this," Marcus called out to Healer Nexus, pointing to the readouts on his scanner. "The antibody markers are working exactly as predicted. Her body is systematically eliminating the contaminated cells while leaving healthy tissue untouched. Nexus studied the data with growing excitement, his forearms moving rapidly as he cross-referenced the information with Zephyrian medical databases. This is remarkable, Dr. Chen. Our most advanced treatments showed no measurable improvement, yet your biological approach is achieving results we thought impossible. King Vorthak, who had remained in the medical chamber throughout the night, approached the platform where his daughter lay. For the first time since Marcus had met him, the alien ruler's expression showed genuine hope rather than desperate fear. Her skin coloration is beginning to improve, the king observed, his voice barely above a whisper. The crystalline structure appears to be regaining its natural luminosity. Marcus nodded, pleased with the progress but maintaining his professional caution. We're seeing excellent initial results, but the treatment is far from complete. The radiation contamination was extensive, and her body needs time to rebuild the damaged tissue. I estimate another 18 to 24 hours before we see significant improvement in her consciousness levels. As if responding to their conversation, Princess Lyrelay stirred slightly on the medical platform. Her eyelids fluttered, and for a brief moment her glowing eyes opened before closing again. The movement was subtle, but it represented the first sign of consciousness she had shown in days. Lyrelay, King Vorthak whispered, leaning closer to his daughter. Can you hear me, my child? The princess did not respond, but her vital signs showed increased neural activity. Marcus checked his readings and confirmed that brain function was steadily improving, as the exotic radiation was eliminated from her nervous system. Over the following hours, Marcus worked with the Zephyrian medical team to monitor the treatment's progress and make minor adjustments as needed. The biological approach required constant fine-tuning, unlike the more automated technological solutions the aliens were accustomed to using. Your medical philosophy is quite different from ours, commented one of the younger Zephyrian healers. We focus on using external energy to force healing, while you work with the body's natural processes to encourage recovery. Marcus wiped his hands on a sterilization cloth as he considered the observation. Human medicine learned early that the body often knows how to heal itself if given the right support. Our role as doctors is to remove obstacles and provide the right conditions for natural healing to occur. This conversation sparked a broader discussion among the Zephyrian medical staff about different approaches to healing and medicine. Marcus found himself serving as an impromptu teacher, explaining human medical concepts while learning about Zephyrian healing techniques. On Earth, we have a saying, Marcus explained. First, do no harm. Sometimes the best treatment is the one that allows the body to heal itself, rather than forcing it to respond to external intervention. As the day progressed, Princess Lyrelay's condition continued to improve steadily. The radiation levels in her system dropped to less than 5% of their original levels, and her organ functions began returning to normal parameters. More importantly, she began showing longer periods of semi-consciousness. During one of these periods, she managed to speak her first word since the treatment began. Her voice was weak but clear as she called out for her father in the melodic Zephyrian language. King Vorthak rushed to her side, tears of relief flowing down his crystalline features. The sight of the powerful alien ruler weeping with joy over his daughter's recovery touched Marcus deeply, reminding him of the universal nature of parental love. The treatment is working beyond our most optimistic projections, Nexus reported, studying the latest medical scans. Her cellular regeneration is proceeding at an accelerated rate, and we're detecting no remaining traces of exotic radiation in her nervous system. Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on the remaining challenges. She's not out of danger yet. The radiation caused significant tissue damage, and her body will need several more days to complete the healing process. We also need to monitor for any delayed reactions to the treatment. Despite his cautious words, Marcus felt increasingly confident that Princess Lyrelay would make a full recovery. The combination of human biological medicine and Zephyrian technological support had proven remarkably effective. As evening approached, the princess experienced her first extended period of consciousness. She was weak and confused, but clearly aware of her surroundings. When she saw Marcus standing beside her medical platform, her glowing eyes widened with curiosity. "Father," she said in accented but clear English, "who is this small being, and why does he smell of foreign worlds?" King Vorthak laughed, a sound like crystal chimes that filled the medical chamber with joy. This is Dr. Marcus Chen, a human physician. He saved your life, my daughter, using medical techniques unknown to our people. Princess Lyrelai studied Marcus with intelligent eyes that reminded him of her father's penetrating gaze. A human, she repeated thoughtfully. I have read our intelligence reports about your species, but I never expected to meet one under these circumstances. The circumstances could have been better, Marcus agreed with a smile. But I'm honored to have been able to help. How are you feeling? The princess attempted to sit up, but quickly discovered that her strength had not yet returned. Weak, she admitted, but alive thanks to you. My father speaks truly when he says you saved my life. Over the next several hours, Marcus monitored her continued recovery while engaging in fascinating conversations about the differences between human and Zephyrian medicine. Princess Lyrelai proved to be as intellectually curious as she was brave, asking detailed questions about Earth medical techniques and biological healing processes. Your people's approach to medicine is quite elegant, she observed, working with natural biological processes rather than overwhelming them with external energy. It's a perspective that could revolutionize our own healing methods. As the night progressed, it became clear that Princess Lyrelai was well on her way to a complete recovery. Her vital signs had stabilized within normal Zephyrian parameters, and her strength was returning steadily. Marcus began preparing for what he assumed would be his eventual release and return to his research mission. However, King Vorthak had other plans, and the next morning would bring developments that Marcus could never have anticipated. Marcus awoke to find himself in luxury quarters that far exceeded anything he had experienced during his initial captivity. The room was spacious and elegantly appointed, with viewing ports that showed the stars streaming past as the Zephyrian vessel traveled through hyperspace. A selection of foods from his own ship had been provided, along with fresh clothing and other amenities. As he finished his morning meal, Healer Nexus arrived with an escort of royal guards. However, their demeanor was respectful rather than threatening, and Nexus appeared to be in an excellent mood. Dr. Chen, Nexus announced formally, King Vorthak requests your presence in the throne chamber. Princess Lyrelai has made a remarkable recovery, and her father wishes to discuss matters of great importance with you. Marcus followed the escort through corridors lined with intricate crystalline artwork that seemed to pulse with inner light. The throne chamber had been transformed since his last visit, with additional seating arrangements and what appeared to be ceremonial decorations throughout the vast space. Princess Lyrelai was present, standing beside her father's throne with renewed vitality. Her crystalline skin had regained its full luminosity, and she appeared to have recovered completely from her ordeal. When she saw Marcus enter, she smiled warmly and inclined her head in what he recognized as a gesture of respect. Dr. Chen, King Vorthak announced, his voice carrying throughout the chamber, you have accomplished something that our greatest healers deemed impossible. My daughter lives because of your knowledge and skill, and the Zephyrian Empire owes you a debt that cannot be measured. Marcus felt uncomfortable with such formal praise and attempted to downplay his role. I was simply able to offer a different perspective on the problem, Your Majesty. The success of the treatment depended heavily on your own medical technology and the skill of your healing staff. Modest words from one who has achieved the impossible, Princess Lyrelai interjected, stepping forward. Father, I believe Dr. Chen understands neither the magnitude of what he has accomplished nor the implications for our people. King Vorthak nodded gravely. Indeed, my daughter speaks truly. Dr. Chen, your treatment approach has not only saved Lyrelai's life but has opened new possibilities for Zephyrian medicine. Our healers are already working to integrate your biological techniques with our existing methods. The alien king rose from his throne, his impressive height and presence filling the chamber with authority. However, the debt we owe you extends far beyond medical knowledge. You have saved the heir to the Zephyrian throne, ensuring the continuation of our royal lineage and the stability of our empire. Marcus began to sense that this conversation was leading somewhere he had not anticipated. The formal nature of the gathering and the presence of what appeared to be court officials suggested that something significant was about to be announced. In recognition of your service, King Vorthak continued, I hereby grant you full diplomatic immunity within the Zephyrian Empire, along with access to our medical databases and research facilities. You and your people will be welcomed as honored guests throughout our territories. Your Majesty, that's incredibly generous, Marcus replied, genuinely moved by the offer. Such access would advance human medical knowledge by centuries. However, I should point out that I'm just one doctor on a research mission. I don't have the authority to negotiate formal agreements between our peoples. Princess Lyrelai exchanged a meaningful look with her father before speaking. Dr. Chen, my father's offer extends beyond diplomatic courtesy. He wishes to propose a more personal arrangement that would solidify the bond between our peoples. Marcus felt a growing sense of unease as he began to understand the direction of the conversation. The formal atmosphere, the ceremonial decorations, and the presence of court officials suddenly took on new significance. My daughter has reached the age where marriage must be considered, King Vorthak announced. Zephyrian tradition requires that she choose a mate who has proven worthy through great deeds. Your actions in saving her life represent the kind of heroic achievement that our culture values above all else. The implications of the king's words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stared at the alien royals in shock, unable to immediately process what was being suggested. Father speaks of ancient traditions that govern royal marriages, Princess Lyrelai explained, her tone suggesting she was as surprised by this development as Marcus was. According to our laws, I am permitted to choose any mate who has performed a deed of sufficient valor and skill. Saving my life certainly qualifies. Marcus struggled to find appropriate words for such an unprecedented situation. Your Majesty, Princess Lyrelai, I'm deeply honored by this suggestion, but there are obvious practical considerations. I'm human, you're Zephyrian. Our species are completely different. Different, yes, King Vorthak acknowledged, but not incompatible. Our medical analysis during your daughter's treatment revealed fascinating similarities between human and Zephyrian biology. While reproduction between our species would not be possible, a ceremonial marriage could serve important diplomatic purposes. Princess Lyrelai stepped closer to Marcus, her luminous eyes studying his face with obvious curiosity. Dr. Chen, I do not ask for love or romantic attachment. Our peoples could benefit greatly from a formal alliance, and marriage between us would create the strongest possible bond between our civilizations. Marcus found himself caught between diplomatic opportunity and personal uncertainty. The offer represented an incredible chance to establish formal relations between humanity and one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. At the same time, the idea of marriage to an alien princess seemed like something from a science fiction story rather than reality. I would need time to consider such a proposal, Marcus said carefully, and I would need to communicate with my own people about the diplomatic implications. This decision would affect far more than just my personal life. Of course, King Vorthak replied approvingly. Such a momentous decision requires careful consideration. You will remain as our honored guest while you deliberate, and we will facilitate communication with your people as needed. Princess Lyrelai approached Marcus with graceful steps that reminded him of a dancer's movements. Perhaps, Dr. Chen, you would allow me to show you more of our ship and our culture while you consider the proposal. I believe you would find our civilization quite fascinating. Marcus nodded, still struggling to process the surreal turn his life had taken. 3 days ago, he had been a simple research doctor studying alien diseases. Now he was being offered marriage to an alien princess and the opportunity to forge a new alliance between species. I would be honored to learn more about Zephyrian culture, he replied formally, though I suspect this will be unlike any cultural exchange in human history. Princess Lyrelai smiled, her crystalline features radiating warmth and intelligence. Indeed, Dr. Chen. I believe we are about to embark on an adventure that will be remembered by both our peoples for generations to come. Over the following days, Princess Lyrelai proved to be an exceptional guide and companion. She led Marcus through sections of the massive Zephyrian vessel that revealed the true scope and sophistication of their civilization. The ship was less a military vessel than a mobile city, housing thousands of Zephyrians along with complete research facilities, manufacturing centers, and cultural spaces. Our people spend most of their lives aboard vessels like this one, Lyrelai explained as they walked through a vast garden dome filled with crystalline plants that sang in harmony with the ship's energy fields. We are explorers by nature, preferring the freedom of space to the confines of planetary settlements. Marcus marveled at the alien ecosystem surrounding them. The plants appeared to be silicon-based rather than carbon-based, their translucent structures capturing and redirecting light in spectacular displays of color and pattern. This is incredible. How do you maintain such complex biological systems aboard a spacecraft? The plants are not merely decorative, Lyrelai replied, touching one of the singing crystal trees with obvious affection. They serve as part of our life support system, processing atmospheric gases and providing psychological benefits to our crew. Your people might find similarities to the gardens aboard your generation ships. The comment surprised Marcus, as humanity had not yet developed generation ship technology. You seem to know quite a bit about human space exploration plans. Lyrelai's expression became somewhat apologetic. Our intelligence services have been monitoring human civilization for approximately 50 of your years. We were waiting for your people to achieve interstellar travel capabilities before making formal contact. Your presence here has simply accelerated that timeline. They continued their tour through educational facilities where young Zephyrians learned advanced sciences that Marcus could barely comprehend. The children were fascinated by the human visitor, their questions translated by Lyrelai covering everything from Earth's biology to human mating customs. Dr. Chen, one of the youngsters asked through Lyrelai's translation, "Is it true that humans only have 2 arms and cannot manipulate energy fields directly?" Marcus smiled at the innocent curiosity. "Yes, that's true. We have to use tools and technology to accomplish what you can do naturally, but sometimes having limitations forces us to find creative solutions to problems." During their explorations, Marcus and Lyrelai engaged in long conversations about their respective cultures, philosophies, and personal experiences. Despite their obvious differences, Marcus found himself genuinely enjoying the princess's company. She possessed a keen intellect, natural curiosity, and a sense of humor that translated surprisingly well across species barriers. "I must admit," Lyrelai said as they observed Zephyrian artists creating sculptures from pure energy, "when Father first suggested this marriage arrangement, I was skeptical. I had read about human customs and wondered how we could possibly find common ground. And now," Marcus asked, genuinely curious about her perspective. "Now I find myself intrigued by the possibilities," she replied thoughtfully. "You approach problems differently than we do, yet you achieve remarkable results. Our conversations have given me new perspectives on leadership, medicine, and exploration that I never would have gained otherwise." Marcus had been having similar thoughts. While the idea of marriage to an alien princess still seemed surreal, he had to admit that Lyrelai was unlike anyone he had ever met. Her combination of royal authority, scientific knowledge, and personal warmth created a fascinating personality that transcended species differences. Their developing friendship was tested when they encountered opposition from some members of the Zephyrian court. During a formal dinner with various nobles and officials, Marcus became aware of underlying tensions regarding the proposed marriage. "Princess," one elderly courtier said in accented English, apparently for Marcus's benefit, "surely you cannot seriously consider binding yourself to such a primitive creature. The genetic incompatibility alone makes this arrangement highly irregular." Lyrelai's response was swift and decisive. "Counselor Threx, Dr. Chen has demonstrated qualities that many Zephyrians would find difficult to match. His medical knowledge saved my life when our most advanced healers had failed. I suggest you show appropriate respect for someone who has earned the gratitude of our entire empire." The exchange revealed the complexity of Zephyrian politics and the challenges that would face any formal alliance between their species. Marcus realized that his decision would have implications far beyond his personal life, affecting political relationships within the Zephyrian court, as well as between their civilizations. Later that evening, Marcus found himself alone with King Vorthak in the Royal Observatory, a magnificent chamber with transparent walls that provided unobstructed views of the surrounding space. "You have doubts," the king observed, his tone understanding rather than accusatory. "Many doubts," Marcus admitted. "I'm honored by your offer, but I'm also concerned about the practical implications. A marriage between Lyrelai and myself would be symbolic rather than genuine, and I wonder if that serves anyone's interests well." King Vorthak considered this carefully before responding. "Dr. Chen, you underestimate the power of symbols in interstellar diplomacy. A formal alliance between our peoples, sealed by marriage between my daughter and a human hero, would send a clear message throughout the galaxy about Zephyrian intentions toward humanity. What kind of message? Marcus asked. That we view humans as equals rather than primitives, the king replied. That we are willing to share our knowledge and resources with your people. That any who would threaten humanity would face the wrath of the Zephyrian Empire. The implications of such protection were staggering. Marcus knew that humanity was still vulnerable in a galaxy filled with potentially hostile alien civilizations. An alliance with the Zephyrians could provide security that would allow human civilization to develop and expand without fear of conquest or destruction. However, King Vorthak continued, I will not force this decision upon you or my daughter. The marriage must be entered into willingly by both parties, or it will serve no one's purposes. Marcus spent the night considering his options, weighing personal desires against the potential benefits to all of humanity. By morning, he had reached a decision that would change the course of both his life and human history. When he met with Princess Lyrelay for breakfast, she immediately sensed his changed demeanor. You have decided, she observed, studying his expression carefully. I have, Marcus confirmed, but I'd like to hear your thoughts first. Are you truly willing to enter into this arrangement, knowing all the complications it will entail? Lyrelay smiled, her crystalline features radiating warmth and determination. Dr. Chen, I believe that great achievements require great risks. If our marriage can help forge a lasting alliance between our peoples, then I consider it a worthy sacrifice. Besides, she added with what he was learning to recognize as Zephyrian humor, you are far more interesting than most of the suitors my father has suggested over the years. Marcus took a deep breath and made the commitment that would reshape both their futures. Then yes, Princess Lyrelay, I accept your father's proposal. The announcement of Marcus's acceptance sent waves of activity throughout the Zephyrian vessel. Within hours, the ship had changed course toward the Zephyrian homeworld, and preparations began for what would be the most significant diplomatic event in recent galactic history. Marcus found himself swept up in a whirlwind of cultural preparation as Lyrelay and her attendants worked to educate him about Zephyrian marriage customs and royal protocols. The complexity of the arrangements was staggering, involving not only the immediate ceremony, but also the establishment of formal diplomatic relations between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. The marriage ceremony itself will be relatively simple, Lyrelay explained as they reviewed the schedule of events. However, the diplomatic protocol surrounding it will require several days of formal presentations and negotiations. Marcus studied the detailed timeline with growing appreciation for the magnitude of what they were undertaking. How much of this will be broadcast to other civilizations? All of it, Lyrelay replied matter-of-factly. This marriage will serve as a declaration to the galaxy that humanity has achieved full recognition as a spacefaring civilization. Every major species will send representatives to witness the ceremony. The political implications were becoming clearer to Marcus as he learned more about galactic civilization. The Zephyrian Empire's endorsement of humanity would establish Earth's position in the complex web of interstellar relationships that governed trade, exploration rights, and territorial claims. During the journey to the Zephyrian homeworld, Marcus was granted access to communication systems that allowed him to contact Earth. The conversation with his government representatives was surreal, as he found himself explaining how a routine medical research mission had evolved into a potential alliance with one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Dr. Chen, the Secretary of State said during their encrypted video conference, you understand that you're essentially serving as humanity's first interstellar ambassador. The decisions you make will affect our species for generations. I understand the responsibility, Marcus replied. But I also believe this represents an unprecedented opportunity. The Zephyrians are offering us protection, advanced technology, and formal recognition as equals. The cost is one symbolic marriage that both parties are entering willingly. The Earth government's response was swift and decisive. Marcus was granted full diplomatic authority to negotiate on behalf of humanity, with teams of experts standing by to provide guidance on complex technical and political issues. As they approached the Zephyrian homeworld, Marcus got his first glimpse of truly advanced alien civilization. The planet was surrounded by massive orbital habitats that dwarfed anything humanity had imagined possible. Streams of vessels moved between the habitats and the planet's surface, in carefully orchestrated patterns that spoke of millennia of technological development. "Impressive, isn't it?" Lyrelai asked as they stood together observing the approach through the observatory's transparent walls. "Beyond impressive," Marcus replied honestly. "This makes me realize how young human civilization really is." "Young, perhaps, but not inferior," Lyrelai corrected gently. "Your people's adaptability and creative problem-solving abilities are remarkable. We have much to learn from each other." The landing process revealed even more about Zephyrian society. The spaceport was a crystal city that seemed to grow directly from the planet's surface, its structures pulsing with energy patterns that created an ever-changing display of light and color. Thousands of Zephyrians had gathered to witness their arrival, their interest in the human visitor obvious despite the alien nature of their expressions. Over the next 3 days, Marcus participated in formal presentations to the Zephyrian High Council, met with representatives from dozens of other alien species, and gradually adapted to his role as humanity's unofficial ambassador. The experience was overwhelming, but Lyrelai proved to be an invaluable guide and advisor. "Remember," she whispered during one particularly tense negotiation session, "these beings respect strength and confidence, show uncertainty, and they will question humanity's readiness for galactic civilization." The marriage ceremony itself was scheduled for the 4th day, but Marcus quickly realized that the formal negotiations were equally important. Various alien species were using the event as an opportunity to establish their own relationships with humanity, creating a complex web of potential alliances and trade agreements. "The hegemony wishes to discuss mineral rights in your solar system," one of the Zephyrian diplomatic staff informed Marcus after a meeting with insectoid representatives. "The Confederation is interested in cultural exchange programs, and the Trade Guild wants to establish commercial shipping routes to Earth." Marcus felt the weight of representing an entire species in negotiations with civilizations that had been spacefaring for thousands of years. However, he found that his medical background had prepared him well for the analytical thinking required in diplomatic discussions. "What are the potential downsides of each proposal?" he asked Lyrelai during a private strategy session. "The hegemony's mineral rights could strip your system of valuable resources," she replied thoughtfully. "The Confederation's cultural exchanges might overwhelm your societies with alien influences, and the Trade Guild's shipping routes could make Earth dependent on galactic commerce before your people are ready." Marcus nodded, appreciating her honest assessment. "So we need to negotiate terms that protect humanity's interests while establishing beneficial relationships." "Exactly," Lyrelai confirmed. "This is why this marriage is so important politically. As my husband, you'll have access to Zephyrian advisors and protection while humanity develops its own diplomatic capabilities." The evening before the ceremony, Marcus found himself alone with his thoughts for the first time since accepting the marriage proposal. The magnitude of what was happening still seemed surreal, but he had come to genuinely respect and care for Lyrelai as both a person and a partner in this unprecedented endeavor. Their relationship had evolved beyond mere diplomatic convenience into something that resembled genuine friendship and mutual respect. While they could never have a traditional marriage by human or Zephyrian standards, they had found common ground in their shared commitment to serving their people's interests. "Are you nervous?" Lyrelai asked when she found him in the guest quarters that had been prepared for him. "Terrified," Marcus admitted with a smile. "Tomorrow I become the first human to marry an alien princess. It's not exactly something they prepare you for in medical school." Lyrelai laughed, the musical sound helping to ease some of his tension. "I am nervous as well. Tomorrow I become the first Zephyrian royal to marry outside our species. My children will read about this day in their history texts." "Assuming we handle it correctly," Marcus pointed out. "We will," Lyrelai said with quiet confidence. "We have both proven capable of rising to unexpected challenges. This is simply another problem that requires creative solutions." As Marcus prepared for sleep, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought him to this point. A simple act of medical compassion had evolved into something that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of a new chapter in human history, and he would be at the center of it all.